on this conference. All right, thank you so much for joining me today. Today is the fourth session on our Agile project management training with Valdymas Intelligence. So, and I believe the session has been very, very informative, and I appreciate the feedbacks I've had from all the students, and this is going to be an exceptional session today if you're going to stay and listen to the end. We're starting with this Scrum Guide. It's a simplified, well, very compressed document that was released by the Agile guys, Ken Shoba and Jeff Sutherland. And looking through it, it will give us a very simple approach to ingesting the whole concept of Scrum. So this is not an exhaustive document, as you will know. It's a high-level summary. So you will still need to consult other book. I would also encourage, like I've shared on the WhatsApp group, for you to read the book written by Jeff Sutherland. It's actually an exceptional book. The Art of Doing Twice the Work. The Art of Doing Twice the Work in Half the Time, Jeff Sutherland. It's actually an excellent book. It's also on our WhatsApp group. Please, if you have time during the week, you can try to ingest that. I also have other books with it, The Essentials of Scrum, a practical guide, and then I have Kanban in Action. I mentioned the other time that we have other Agile project management methodology. However, Scrum is the most popular. About 60 to 70% of Agile project management runs on Scrum. A larger chunk runs on Kanban, and then we have other methodology like extreme programming, feature-driven development, disciplined Agile, and other ones or sub ones like test-driven development, etc. I mentioned from the beginning that the whole concept of this training is to alter our thinking. In most cases, what we fail to realize is that every process we go through is actually working on our mind. If you go through a medical school, you are conditioned in the medical school to change the way you think, the way you see, and the way you hear, such that once they can achieve that, it will alter your choices. And once they can alter your choices and decision-making system, it will alter your action. And then they can be sure, once they're able to alter the way you see, hear, and think, they can release you to go 10,000 miles. They know you will not be able to, except you meet another person who is able to alter or reconstruct it again. So this is a process of deconstructing some things and reconstructing something. And that's why I love the words of Alvin Toffler in his book, The Third Wave, which says that the illiterate of the 24th century will not be those who cannot read nor write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and those who cannot learn, relearn, and unlearn. So it's a world where we have to unlearn some realities, relearn some new things, and of course, we need to keep learning. Now, to start it, I was just reading to Mr. Charles that the whole concept of I want to write. Let me get the the whole concept of Scrum is such that Ken Shoba and Jeff Sutherland made it popular, made people know about it, and that really helped. I must be sincere. So they brought it to limelight, and it's so great they did that. So if you see us always mention that the co-creator of Scrum methodology, or those who made it really popular, are Ken Shoba and Jeff Sutherland. However, the original guys, what's their name? The original guys that these things were attributed to were actually the guys who wrote in their Harvard Business Review article about Scrum, and that's Takuchi and Nonaka. Takuchi and Nonaka. So it's just for us to have it at the back of our mind. So they were quoted in 1986. I think these guys were quoted in 1993, the earliest record. So, but for purpose of exam, if you are asked, I think you probably mentioned these folks. So to scroll through, coming. I need to move this shit. Just a moment, please. Okay, great. So this document is from November 2020, as you can see. And the first thing it spoke about is the purpose of Scrum. I hope you can see my screen clearly. Can we confirm if you can see?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes,
oh, yes,
yes.
I can see the screen. It's clear.
Excellent. Okay.
It's clear, sir.
Okay, so the purpose of Scrum basically is this. I'll read the problem to you. In the book, in his book, that's Jeff Sutherland, he wrote some problem. You see, earlier before this time, several billions of dollars had been wasted by the American government in the bid of deploying solutions, especially for the military. They were running on the traditional project management methodology, but it wasn't working. So a lot of projects would start, and this is the problem. By the time they go from initiation to completion of the project, to delivery of the project, what happens is a lot of things would have evolved and the customer will no longer need that product. And what would happen to the money that has been spent? Money is wasted. So they had to come up with a solution. And that's why Jeff Sutherland called it a new way of thinking, a new approach that I call Scrum. Now it's a proven way, and he said there are two ways of doing things. There's the waterfall model, which wastes hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm reading that directly from the book, and often doesn't deliver anything. Or do we want the new way with the fewer people in less time and can deliver more stuff with higher quality at a lower cost? I know it sounds too good to be true, but the proof is in the results. Agile works. That's what he said. The Scrum methodology works. So the reason is that this framework is a simple framework, and it also helps people. You can break it down, and trust me, it's applicable to different fields of life. It's not only in IT, but of course we have embraced it more in IT because we needed to be way more agile. So that's the origin of this whole concept that we're calling Scrum. So I'm coming, just a moment. Oh, what did I press the other time? Okay, great. I've noticed it now. So the Scrum Guide contains the definition to Scrum. Each element of the framework serves as a specific purpose. As you can read, I expect you to be reading through, please. Of course, you have the concept of Scrum, developer, but I want to start after the... Now let's go to the definition. The key words in the definition is that Scrum is a lightweight framework. Why did they call it lightweight? It's a simple framework to understand. Why is it a simple framework to understand? Because we just tell you, do Scrum planning. When you plan what you need to deliver, then run in sprints. In each of the sprints, do daily touch bases. In your daily touch bases, at the end, do what you call the sprint review and do what you call the sprint retrospective. In the sprint review, review the product that you deliver. Review it with all the customers, all the stakeholders. Do sprint retrospective. This one is focused on the team improvement. So sprint review is focused on who? On the product. Sprint retrospective is focused on the team that is actually delivering it. So both are quality driven, but the focus are different. So once you do your sprint retrospective, then go back to sprint planning, then start your sprint again, start running a daily touch base. In those daily touch base, we have given you the things you need to ask for. Very simple. So it's a simple or lightweight framework that helps people, team, organization generate value through adaptive solutions for complex problems. So the word lightweight framework is a key word here. And if you look at it as a Scrum Master, of course, for you to succeed in any Scrum or Agile team, please, you need a Scrum Master. Some organization finds a way to excuse it out, and it reflects in the timeliness and the value they deliver. Because ultimately, this guy is the servant leader to the organization, to the system. And I will soon talk more about that. Now you need the Scrum Master as one. Don't forget the other time we met, you need the product owner as what? Number 2. Then you need the development team, number 3. But don't forget, someone will have to be the sponsor. And so the sponsors and the business guys will be the stakeholders. And then you repeat the cycle. So it's simple. So you need a team that has the Scrum Master, the Scrum product owner, the development team, And then you have a stakeholder that will gather everyone together. That's leadership or business or sponsor. Like I said, maybe for a government organization, it will be the ministry or the Department of Health, Secretary of State for something. That guy will be the sponsor or the stakeholder. He will gather everybody together, the team that will deliver, and then we keep repeating the cycle. And don't forget, in this repetition, we said 2 words: iteration, iterative increase, and incremental. And don't forget, the other time I said iterative means you're repeating the cycle. Iterations keep going in cycle. Incremental means as you're increasing this cycle, you're actually increasing it and you're increasing the number of features, the value given to the customer. So you're actually increasing the cycle, which is you are running in cycles, which is cycles of sprints. And then that's iteration. And then the incremental part is as you're running, you're actually increasing. So Scrum is believed to be simple. And it's simple both in philosophy, in theory, and in structure. Now the Scrum theory. We're just gisting about that a couple of moments ago before you joined, Dr. Shalada. The Scrum theory is running on 2 keywords: empiricism and lean thinking. Empiricism and lean thinking. And he told me how he had gone ahead to read the concept of lean. And I will actually talk about it in this class as well. Empiricism asserts that knowledge comes from experience, and making decisions is based on what is observed. Lean thinking is a way to reduce waste and focus on what is essential.
Sorry, sir. My hand is up. I don't know.
Oh, please, I didn't get the feedback.
Question,
Okay.
sir.
Please feel free anytime. Just
yes. Before we get to the Scrum theory.
Okay.
Now, the way you arrange this, all of them are stakeholders anyway. Okay. From the Scrum Masters to product owner and all of that. So is that supposed to be the arrangement? Starts from I feel the product owner in the first instance is, from what I have read today, seems to be like the person who envisions how the product will look like, who defines the features of the functions of that product, defines the features of that product, and then gives it to a Scrum Master. Or am I missing that chronological order? I need to understand so that I know. I want to be able to situate who does what part time, who starts the entire process, and who leads the entire process, the entire cycle in the real sense of it, sir.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Great question. We've actually spoken about this in the previous class. So let me go over the problem again. Don't forget when we said we have the product vision, right? So it's the sponsor that always come up with the product vision, or that has a business problem that needs a digital solution for, right? That's the sponsor. But the gist is the sponsor cannot deliver. So the sponsor has to talk to a product owner. So you're right. The product owner or product manager or the technical product management team is the one the sponsor will talk to. The product owner is the one who will bring it to a team of people called where the Scrum Master plus the development team will be. So this is the stakeholders. This is like leadership. This is like the commissioner for health, commissioner for human resource, commissioner for something, or let's say director of operation in a bank, or let's just imagine that organization, the MD, the head of department in a university. I just noticed that I need a software that can total all my students' score and then be able to send all of them SMS, send them email, and then even be able to invite them for one meeting or the other, make-up meeting. Those who pass will know via SMS, those who didn't do well and what they need to do. Everything will just be disseminated. That's a solution the HOD has envisioned. And he just feel we can just deploy a small solution that can solve that. So as he's talking about it, he will just call, okay, I have this friend, he's a product owner, Mr. Charles. Hello, Mr. Charles. I have this problem. I need us to deliver. and
Okay.
we have this amount of resources on time.
Mm.
Can you come up with now, but you know, everything is evolving because of the business environment. So what now happens is, if I'm working in this organization, I may need to call a vendor. Vendor are the people, the organization that will help me deliver. In a vendor, the vendor too will have his own leadership. But under that leadership, they will speak to their product manager. So Ministry of Health can
So
either
the vendor in this regard, sir, sorry, sir. So
no
the
problem,
vendor
feel
in
free.
this is like the contractor.
Excellent.
Okay.
Excellent. So maybe the guy, as he's thinking, I called you now, Mr. Chan. You're not saying, wait. I have a company. That company does this digital solution. Their name is Valdymas. No, so Valdymas becomes a vendor to Ekiti State government, or to the Ministry of Health, or Ministry of Cooperative, or Ministry of Education. So when they talk to us as the vendor, we will call all our product owner, and maybe sometimes we call the Scrum Master and development team together into a meeting and say, this is the problem the state has brought to. Let's break down all the requirements and understand everything that will make us be able to deliver. And that is where we will now break it down and come up with a document called SOW, Statement of Work.
Okay.
Statement of Work, we have two things. It will define all the scope. It will break down all the scope of what we need to deliver, the tech stack we will use, everybody that is what is the business impact of what we want to deliver. It will come up with that, and then it will come up with the cost of delivering. So this budget is now what we will, these two things, we will submit it back to the stakeholder and tell them, this is the scope of what you want to do. This is the available tech stack that we can use to deliver it. And this is the cost that we're looking to deliver it over 5 months. And then we all agree. When we now have some back and forth, we can now say, do you want it to be a fixed bid budget? The meaning of fixed bid budget is that it's always good to go for a fixed bid budget. The reason is, don't forget, this is Agile. If anything happens and they are not able to deliver after 5 months, if it's not a fixed bid budget, they can come back and say, no, we need to increase the money, the budget. But once you tell them it's a fixed bid budget and it's just 1 million naira or $100,000, even if they run into trouble and they can't deliver, they have to deliver, and they can't deliver in 5 months, and they have to use 7 months to deliver, then that's on them. That's on the vendor, no longer on the sponsor. So all those are just nuances that would come with different experiences, that you now understand how to just manage the budget before you issue out a project to anybody or to your developer. And you know, in some organization, you can actually have your digital transformation arm. Like I know GTB has their own IT section, technology. So the head of business, the ED business can call the ED technology. So this is ED business, can now reach out to ED technology. Now, ED technology will be representing like the arm of the same organization, who will be acting as a vendor to the system, to the master organization, because the master organization that is actually attending to customer needs help. It could be a regulatory issue. Maybe CBN just changed the rule. Maybe the Mr. President just signed an executive order, and he says, cancel all VATs. So that means the IT team has to go into their system and edit their code such that they will not deduct VAT from anybody's account again.
Yeah.
So that's just how the flow goes. So the product owner comes, understands it. He has a business analysis mindset. And if he has a business analyst to work with him, so him and the business analyst will be discussing with the development team. And the role of a scrum master in this arm is to ensure that everything goes properly, such that it is built aright, is built by the right resources, it is built within scope to prevent scope creep, and he also ensures that it's built within the right time frame. So, but the burden of time is the highest on the Scrum Master. He manages everything within time, and then quality, and then scope, and then cost as the sequence goes. For a product owner, the burden of building the right product is the highest for a product owner. And then the next thing is to ensure it is built within budget.
So, sir, I'm envisioning that. I'm thinking that there will be specific tools for each of these expertise. For example, if you want to do Scrum planning right now, there may be tools,
Definitely, there are two.
specific kind of tools to use to be able to do that planning. And if as a Scrum Master who wants to now be the overall manager of the entire process, there might be also tools that integrate all of these processes as one, and he's looking through them to do his work.
Excellent. So one of these days, what we'll do is we'll actually talk about the tools, but we need to first understand the whole concept first.
Okay.
One of these days, we'll sit down and look into Jira. We will actually get the free subscription first, and then we would run through Jira. It will be one of our sessions. Don't worry.
Thank you
and
so
I'll
much.
tell you the role of a product owner, Scrum Master, and all those things in it.
Thank you so much.
All right, great. Thanks. But please, anytime, feel free to stop me. Let's ask questions. Anyone on the call, please. I'm more willing. Let's learn together. I want to use your own question to also learn more. As you're asking me, you're forcing my brain to also think through scenarios, and I'm able to bring out answers from my own little experience as well.
Thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome, sir. So Scrum is founded on empiricism, which is depth of experience. And the advantage with empiricism is that it's telling you that all learning should not end at superficial learning. It must move to deep learning. It is only at deep learning when you have gone through experience and you have gone through evaluation. You see, these two things are very critical to the movement of empiricism. Empiricism is telling you superficial. So it's not just that they just trained me on Scrum. What I am trying to get you to become is to experience it, to change your thinking, such that you now have an experiential and an evaluative knowledge. And then you move from that superficial learning to deep learning. And that is when everyone will be able to work effectively. So we always want a team that has people who have depth of knowledge, actually made from experiences. And then the second part is lean thinking. So for lean thinking, please, if you will not learn anything from this encounter today, understand that lean is Japanese owned and founded because of its origin in car manufacturing industry, specifically what we call the Toyota way. And that's the whole origin of lean. If they ever ask you anything about lean, they will always want to ask you these 5 principles of lean. And please don't fail to the 5 principles of lean thinking. Do not forget it, please. The 5 principles of lean thinking, number 1 is called value. Number 2 is called value stream. It's actually simple to learn, you will see. Value stream. Number 3 is flow. When I explain it now, you'll see that you won't forget it quickly. Number 4 is pull, and number 5 is perfection. Now, you can see some people use Kaizen for this perfection, K-I-Z-E-N. But just know it as perfection because it will help you with the acronym I want to give you. The acronym is VVFPP. It makes your life easy. If you just understand VV, so V squared, F, P squared. Are we together? Someone should just compound thumbs up or something. I'm fine.
We are together, sir.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. So V squared, F, P squared. And that solves so the 5 principles of lean thinking. The first thing is value. The focus for anything you want to deliver should be value to the end user, to the customer. And so in all your analysis, you are thinking, how will the customer not suffer? How will they benefit from this? How can I improve their user experience? How can I ensure that if we say this application, we send 1 million from Mr. A to Dr. B, will it deliver the 1 million? Will the 1 million not disappear in transit? Will snake not swallow the 1 million? Those are the different scenarios that you think about. So the value to the customer should be your primary goal. Now, the second thing is what we call value stream, because we have a concept called value stream mapping. The value stream mapping helps you to identify every part along the value chain where anything can go wrong or where you can deliver value to the customer. So this is the customer's phone. This is the other customer's phone. Anywhere along this value chain, you have done a development. So your application is here. This customer will ensure that they press all the right things on their phone. And then they expect that the transaction goes through your own tech stack. As you receive it, maybe they have to pull an API to pull in some details. But once they click send, their goal is that this feeds into your own back-end code. Then it goes into your database. And then from here, it goes back to the back-end code of this other bank or institution, and then is able to reflect on the UI of this person's phone so that this person receives an alert and says, I have gotten my money. This is a value chain. And from an IT perspective, I'm also looking at sitting down with your organizational architect to draw from the beginning to the end all the applications within the tech stack that will be involved in delivering the solution. If you look at the concept of Uber now, what Uber simply did was got a finance application plus a Google map plus an interface, built a user interface for you to load, and as a back-end engine, and built a database. So you have a database integrated with the back-end code that was written, plus the finance application, plus what the Google Map application that will actually describe the roads and all the networks and everything. And that's all. So along each of these pieces or component of the tech stack, you can actually draw a value stream. And how the any lack of communication within any of this, or integration within any of these components of the tech stack, would actually lead to value breakdown. So anytime you think about lean, you're thinking about what's the value. Number two, do I have the value stream map? Do I have a map, a picture? In most cases, we sit down, and that's why we always advocate that any development you want to do. I know there was a time we're doing something at Valdymas, and I think the dev guy was asking that he kept asking me that we need to get a UI professional to do the UI this thing for us, to draw the designs for us, so that it's easier for the guys at the back end to now write a code integrating with that UI component. And that's how it is in the real sense. So you always have the UI advantage. The guy understands all the problem, comes up with designs for each of them. He comes up with the login page. He comes up with all the options of the possible things that can happen on a login page. That's login page. He comes up with, after the login page, what's the next page you will land onto? He designs all possible things that can happen on that page. After that, okay, do you want to send money? He designs all the possible responses you can get in sending money. Is it that successful, not successful, or something? He comes up with that. So a UI guy designs all those things, and now the backend guy just writes a code to integrate with that UI component. And that's how it is. So the UI guy becomes like the architect of the building. The back-end folks becomes like the bricklayers, the engineers, the structural engineers who actually builds the building into physical reality. Do we understand? And so along the chain, if there's an error in the UI design, there will be an error because the code will code into an error. So that's why you must get everything. So that's value stream mapping. Flow now talks to, it means that at no point is your work slowed down. Don't forget, we said you're continuously running repeatedly. There's continuous iteration, incremental move, and that's flow. So at no point is your work stopping. You must maintain flow at every point. You must maintain movement. You must maintain movement. So establishing flow is not an easy task though, but to do it effectively, you may have to introduce and implement changes within your organization that may be unpopular or sometimes it's even difficult, but you must maintain flow of things and make sure work is going on. And then the next thing is pull, which is used to eliminate waste. This is the concept that is being used here. I forgot what I wanted to pick up at Best Buy a couple of months or years ago, and they told me they would have to send it to my house in 3 days. So what simply happened is they don't have that product on ground, and what they don't want to do is that they intentionally did not want to have the product on ground. So what they want is they want you to place the order, and within few days or within a day sometime, they will quickly couple it up together and send to you. They do that in furniture industry too. Now they just have a sample in a showroom that they are showing to you. When you come and you like it, they will tell you all the variable options that is available. And once you place an order, let's say like an example of what happened to me, you place an order on Monday, they will tell you will deliver on Friday. Trust me, they will just couple your own order after that Monday. So each day, they have an inventory page that shows all the order that was created across all the region for that day. And then the development guys now jump at it and start working around the clock to ensure that they deliver based on the day that was promised to the customer. And then perfection, which is also called Kaizen spirit, speaks to the idea of continuous improvement. You are constantly improving, increasing value to the customer. If you deliver something well today, you want to beat that expectation tomorrow. So as a school, the idea is if you have 60% pass rate, you want to move it to 65, you want to move it to 80, you want to move it to 82, 89, 90. You continuously do things that would improve that would improve excellence amongst the student. If that is if you consider student to be your end user or your customer that you need to give value to, because I don't think so many federal universities consider student to be their end user. And that's why we still have problem in education. But if you consider students to be your end user and you see them as people who deserve value, then you would make sure you build continuous improvement into all your systems to keep advancing the strength of what you're teaching. So the 5 key principles of lean, don't forget, of lean thinking: value, value stream, flow, pull, and perfection. VVFPP. Any question?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay, so lean thinking in business mindset gives value to the customer, and the focus is on minimizing waste. And the most important thing so there's something also called the 4 P's of lean thinking. And I just want to share that. There's the 4 P's of lean thinking. Those 4 P's is: number 1, the purpose; number 2, the process; number 3, the people; and then number 4, performance. And if you're going to be an agile person, these are the 4 eyes you would use to look at things. You always look at things from the purpose perspective, the people perspective, the process perspective, and the performance perspective. So when I'm looking at a system in my mind, I'm asking, what's the purpose of this system? Why are we building this application? What's the process we're embracing? Who are the people that will use it? Who are the people that are building? Who are the people that will use it? And then what will be the performance of the application? And this determines a lot of things because, let me give you an example. I have a website that is WordPress, and I have another website that is being built with code. I know WordPress performance would be limited. The one built with code, the performance will be increased because I can alter a lot of things in it. So depending, if I need it to be quickly built, swiftly, I'll go for WordPress. If I need it to be built well, but it will take longer time and the delivery, and I'm able to alter the purposes, change a lot of things, I would go for a code built website. The difference is also that I can customize my code build more. I can customize in WordPress to a large extent, but I can also customize the more. So all these things will determine what the purpose, the process, the people, the performance always have an implication on what the end product will be ultimately. All right, so as not to lose focus on this document, let's go on. But one other thing I would just like you to read on your own if you have the time is that the lean agile methodology actually has some principles as in I'm coming. I want to get. So if I'm fusing the word lean agile together. So pardon me now. I don't want to get you confused. Let me leave that part so that you don't get. Just understand these 5 principles of lean. I think that would do well. So as not to throw in too much words, you gradually grab the other part with time. I'm trying to reduce the words on the screen so that you can get my point. So Now, back to the Scrum theory. We have established lean thinking and empiricism. Let me clean this a little bit more. So the first thing that I need us to know is that even though we said it's founded on empiricism and lean thinking, the concept of the concept of empiricism rests on three pillars, which is transparency, inspection, and adaptation. And you will see in the way we do our work always. The truth about it is, Agile is not an emotional process. Can I repeat that? Agile is not a what? Please, I need us to
It's
flow
not an
along.
emotional process.
It's not an emotional process.
Thank you. The reason why I said this is, trust me, everything you do, we want to see it. We don't want you to tell me I am working. And because I am Dr. Onide, you can't ask me question. You know, that's common in our environment, where
Yes.
I can't ask the VC to tell me everything he's doing. I want to inspect what the VC. So if I have a developer who is working on the UI, you have to show me every day what you're doing. If I have a back-end guy writing code, I want to see the code you're writing daily. There's no emotions of, I must trust you. I'm the SQL expert. I've been here for 13 years. And so you can't question what I'm doing. You can't ask me something. Who are you? You, this new project manager. You project manager of this generation. So if you're leading a team and you have someone who is that emotional, just tell them, by the Agile principles, we run on transparency, inspection, and adaptation. So please, we need to see what you're doing. There's nothing like you're hiding what you're doing. So everyone wants to see. So transparency is a crucial component of this work. We want to continuously inspect what you're doing. And you know, we say it, transparency enables inspection. If all of us has agreed on the principle of transparency, then there's no need for you to worry that I'm actually checking your work. Do you get what I'm saying? Because inspection without transparency will lead to waste. If we all agree on the code of transparency, but yet you want to hide and mark your own students in a corner, and we say no, everybody should bring all the marking to a central point. Let's all mark together and finish everything within a day or two. And you say, no, I want to go and mark my own in a hidden corner. I'll bring the score. I am professor, emeritus, something, something. Then you will not help us in the Agile way, because our way is the way of transparency. And we want to keep inspecting you as you're marking. The same thing, if you're building a solution, we want to inspect. So if you, transparency, inspection, and adaptation, those are three pillars in which the empiricism component is standing on. So don't forget, Scrum is based on empiricism plus lean thinking. Under lean thinking, we've talked about the 5 principles of lean. Under empiricism, we said 3 pillars of empiricism. The 3 pillars of empiricism is TIA, transparency, inspection, and adaptation. The 5 principles of lean is value stream. Well, I love calling it value stream mapping, but because I know the mapping, but value stream, flow, pull, and then perfection. So those are it, what you need to know. Now we have what we call the Scrum values, just like you have what you call core values of an organization, right? And we say they are living 5 values of Scrum. And I just love to use FORC. FOR squared C, yeah. Just to memorize this. Sorry, FOR, sorry, it's C that is squared, sorry. FORC squared. So I know I rearranged it for my own easy understand. Sorry, I memorize things with code. I don't know if you do that as well. That's what makes memory retention easy for me. So I can remember this in 30 years if you wake me up. Yeah. Once I'm able to get the code to get into my subconscious, it's gone. So FORC squared. And that's why it's difficult if I tell my wife I don't remember something. She believes there's no way I will remember. But it's not everything I'm able to get into my subconscious mind, right? So she's on the call actually, and I've told her I'm going to call her out along the line of the conversation. So, all right. So the first thing is focus. Everyone is focused on getting solution done and getting value to the customer. So you can't be drifting. You can't be a social loafer on an agile team. You must be focused and be ready to go along with us. The second thing is openness, which is the same as transparency. I'm sure you know that. So openness, everyone, if we call you into a meeting, except it is practically impossible for you to join the meeting, tell us, I am on the way to drop my kids in school. I will join on mobile, and immediately I can do this, I will join back. We want openness. We don't want people who will be on the way to Ilawe and they will be deceiving us. They are still in Ado-Ekiti. If you're on the way to Ilawe, let us know you're on the way to Ilawe. My network will not be stable. Please bear with me. I have a family emergency I need to attend to. Once I settle down in Ilawe, I would attend to all the pending issues. We want openness. Do we all understand? So if you're training your team member, these are the things you will tell them from the word go. I don't want you to, all this attitude of deceiving, lying, not coming to work, all those has to stop. If we're going to work, you have to be focused, you have to be open, we all have to respect each other. If I don't know, I can respectfully ask, I'm sorry, I'm not quite sure I grab what you're saying. Can you please help my understanding here? I'm sorry, please. Is this what you meant by what you say? You can just respect others, respect their time, and respect yourself, and ensure that there is continuous respect in the collaborative effort. So respect is crucial to us in Agile. Then the next one is courage. Let me give you a very funny real life example that just happened to me yesterday. I spent the last 6 weeks on one of my tracks. There's one of the application I'm currently deploying and everything. And so over the night to yesterday, we actually deployed the solution. One of them went 100%, and one was able to load its data up to just 50%. And so I was stuck. We now went to invite another team to come and review our work. And in the process of reviewing, the team actually deleted our solution in production.
Wow.
6 weeks work disappeared.
Wow.
I was fuming. I was furious. I was everything within
How come
it.
there's no backup?
As until now, we don't know. So the team had 2 models in which they do their review. I don't know how they probably, I guess they probably used the wrong mode to do this thing. And instead of it to recreate a backup, he actually went ahead to delete the solution. As I am talking to you, I'm still tracking teams. My system is still opened that we're trying to rebuild the solution again in production.
Wow.
The only advantage we have is that we know all the permission points. We know everybody. So I had to get everybody, all team representative that was involved in the whole building process together on what we call a call. We call it NOC call. We gather everybody together. I was on that call till like 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. my time yesterday, thereabout. And we're still ongoing. So that's to make you understand how significant courage is in delivering solution. You will hit several challenges on the way. If you're really not a courageous person, you would almost back down and say, look, this tension is too much. Let's just drop this solution. But whatever would happen, we would be able to deliver back by Monday. So the only data that's crossed into the database are the ones that people can access as I speak. Any fresh data that came in from yesterday morning till this moment, no member, no customer will be able to access it. And so we're already not giving value to customer. That's the meaning. Please go ahead.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I'm reading this value. So the first I saw where you underlined is that the Scrum team commits to achieving its goal and to supporting each other. The primary focus is on this, and the Scrum team and its stakeholders are open about the work challenges and all of that. There is a place where Scrum team members respect each other to be capable, independent people and are respected as such. So here, I want to ask a question here. The last 2 weeks, we are moving our products to a level where the users can now perform transactions on the app.
Excellent.
Originally, what we had before was, it's a savings group app. So what we had before was a digital ledger, where all they had to do was to make their contributions manually, but record on the app. So we're now moving to a point where they can now make deposits by dialing USSD code or something, or Now, for that process to be done, we've had about 1,500 groups onboarded on the app with a minimum number of 25 people. So we've had close to like 30,000 people using the app presently in about 4 states. Now, for us to move to that level, the development team told us that we need to be able to add some members of the group as approvers, so that if money wants to come out of the escrow account, we're moving them now to an escrow account. So linked to a mobile money platform. Excellent. So in order for that to be done, we need about 10 people from each of the groups who will serve as approvers before money can be moved out of the account. Money can come into the account easily. There's no problem about that. But for money to come out of the account, maybe as loan disbursements or as whatever, there has to be some approvals to show some level of transparency in the process. So we deployed what we call village agents. These are the guys who have given minimal trainings to be able to support these illiterate women in the use of this app and all of that. To go to these women and onboard 10 of these people as approvers. So the first thing I realized is that the work was supposed to be done in about 3 days. So I realized that in about 1 week, we're supposed to do about 210 groups as a pilot. We've only done 51. So we now began to, the developers began to now ask questions. What's happening here and all of that. So we found out that some of the members did not understand the process. They did not ask questions. As a result, they just formulated numbers and put it on a spreadsheet and sent to me, telling me that they've done this and all of that. And they said, believing that, I don't know, maybe they think it's possible to lie to technology or something. I don't know. So now that creates a lot of, as I'm talking to you, that's creating a lot of confusion between us and the developers who are not even in Nigeria anyway. So it's a case of, you guys are lying to us. This is what the evidence is saying. This is what is happening and all of that. And me, that is leading that team, I have a reputation of my organization to protect, as well as, what has come out and all of that. And the other way around is for me to also agree with these people that, yes, there was an error, this and that. So my question is, in terms of, using these principles of openness and respecting that people, I suspect Scrum is thinking that you shouldn't micromanage people. You should be able to let them do their work based on their capabilities. But in this regard right now, leaving people to do the work without micromanaging them has put us in the reputational issue, as well as, waste of times and all of that. So my question to this is that, what do you do as if you are in my shoes right now, sir? How do you approach this kind of issues and still get the result that you want to get without, bearing in mind that time is of essence. But we've even wasted more time on this thing and all of that, and resources also, including money and all of that. What do you think I should do in this regard?
So the first thing I would like to say is thank God I'm not in your shoe. Yeah, some shoes you don't want to jump in. I realized that maybe late in life. So there are some things you just leave the person in the shoe to say, God will help you. God will strengthen you. Yeah. So, but I need to ask some questions to actually get the challenge very clearly. So what happens is you wanted to create roles for some 10 people who will be
Yes.
approving payments. That's
Yes.
the first thing, right? So because
Yes.
of that, you now needed to select 10 leaders across the different communities.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, but these 10 leaders, what they went ahead to do is that they just started recording what they like in the Excel document, isn't it?
No, so we have these 10 leaders are a group of women, farmers, who were training to be able to use the platform. Excellent. So they don't have the experience. Okay. So what we needed them to, there's no way they could add themselves. Okay. So we needed our village agents. These are like our staff, our field staff.
Your own field staff to go and add them,
yes.
Okay.
They were supposed to be the one to add them on the platform.
Great, okay.
So that they can now serve and then train these people on that process. Those are their 2 jobs.
Okay, great. So what now happened?
So what happened was that because they didn't understand what they to do.
So your own staff that you sent to go and meet the village people, they didn't actually understand their 2 jobs that they need to deliver, right?
Yes. We've trained them, we've sent them videos, we've sent them the step-by-step guides and all of that. Now, at the end of the day, I am the one assuming for them that they don't understand anyway, because they didn't tell me they did not understand. Okay. So what we found out eventually was that they started cooking up numbers and putting on the spreadsheet to send to us. So the idea was that once you are done onboarding one person on the app, so put it on this spreadsheet so that it could serve as a guide for us to know that.
Oh, excellent. Which is like a check. Okay.
A check. You get it now. So we just saw I just woke up and saw that they've done a lot on the spreadsheet. By the time I checked back with the developers, they were like, they are not seeing anything, that it's not reflecting on the app and all of that. So I went through a meeting, a virtual meeting with one of the developers yesterday. And so he showed me the entire process on the dashboard. And I saw that in the real sense of it, these guys were lying to us. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. And so it now makes me to now ask the questions, in the principle of respect, which I believe Scrum is trying to think that you should allow people to maximize their capabilities without necessarily micromanaging them or putting pressure on them and all of that. Now that, let's say, by default, I've tried to apply that principle and it has put us in soup right now, where we now have a reputational issue as an organization. So that's why I'm asking, how do I go about because it's an issue that has been giving us headaches since yesterday.
So one thing that comes to mind quite easily. Number one, you didn't train your village people, the village agents, your staff, the agent that are going to the village. You didn't, from the origin, they didn't know that they were running an agile process. So you can't blame them. Yeah, so they don't know. So, and obviously,
sorry, sir. Even me, that is their guy. I didn't know I'm running an agile process.
Okay. I appreciate that. You're also being open. So, yeah, so they didn't know from the beginning. Now we are just getting them to understand that we want to go agile. So it's now understandable if at this point onward, we now want to run with that respect, without this thing. But one thing I always say, even if we're not running an agile environment, if a mistake like this happens, please, always give people respect for their dignity of being human.
Okay.
Even if they make a classic mistake like this that looks so foolish, stupid, unimaginable, just keep quiet for them because of the dignity of the fact that they are human beings. So don't blame them because of what they do. the reason why you don't blame them, why you force yourself to keep quiet. You know, when I got that the app was deleted in production yesterday, I said it first that, wow, someone has to take responsibility for this. But after a while, I had to caution myself. I now said, okay, guys, this has happened. What do we do next? Then immediately I set up the NOC meeting. I informed my own leadership as to what the problem is. And then I gather every leaders together across all the team. I had to be begging each leader to give me a representative. So what I'm saying now is, even obviously, they didn't impute in the app, and they were just filling the Excel. That's what happened, obviously. There's no need to lie. If they are imputed in the app, it will show in the app. Except there is something in the app that is deleting the data. But as long as the app can click save. Okay, my wife also wants to say something. So I will allow her to also talk.
All right, Father, I've been waiting for her to talk because I saw her emoji, really.
Okay,
so
yeah.
Please start from that emoji, man.
Don't mind him. He doesn't. I don't believe he forgets anything, except he wants to intentionally forget, and he knows I don't believe that. That's why I use that emoji. All right. I'm going to be speaking from two perspectives. I'm going to be speaking as someone that works with data, and I'm also going to be speaking as someone that understands crisis management. One thing is, of course, nobody likes to be micromanaged, but sometimes you actually need to micromanage people, especially when you know the caliber, the kind of people you are working with. And one of the things I used to say is you have to set clear expectations. As much as I don't want to micromanage people I work with, I set clear expectations. I have deliverables. So when I set my clear goals and expectations, I will allow you the autonomy to determine how you want to achieve them, but you should understand that there's another thing. I have regular check-ins. So instead of like being all over you, micromanaging you, I have my regular check-in time. And at that time, you should trust that all I's are on. I will make sure that all I's are dotted, all T's are crossed at that time, because I will have scheduled it beforehand. So you're not feeling like, why is this person bugging me? We all are going to have that agreement that there will be regular check-ins so that we can discuss your progress and at the same time address any issues. Now, looking at the data, that means the organization does not have a robust data governance system in place. That's why it's happening like that. Because the question you should ask yourself now is, what are the governance framework that you have in place, which includes your policies, your procedure, and the standard of data management? That's what is actually opening you up now to reputational risk. What's the standard for data management? And that means there is no regular data validation and cleansing. And that's why your partners discovered it before you discovered it. And also there's no regular audit, so that you are able to identify and rectify issues as they come. Then, of course, employee training. You can never take it away. And it's when we are in data protection, data governance, one of the things we hammer is employee training, irrespective of the level or the kind of access that employee have. Everybody needs to be trained in terms of data management, because you might think they really don't have direct access to data, but the little they have access to can make or mar the organization. So employee training on the importance of data integrity, you should have done that from the word go. The integrity of the data, and let them know that if they doctor it, you will know. Right from the word go. So then, of course, you have to manage your partners and vendors now. So that comes to your ability for third-party management, so that everybody can adhere to data integrity standards. So even the women on the field, somehow you need to communicate something to them so that they understand the significance of what they need to do and how they need to cooperate. So not just the 10 people you trained, the people that are going to that they are going to work with should also be trained. My first degree is in agriculture. I specialized in economics, but I took a course in extension that even the people, there's a principle in extension that even the people you are going to try to introduce anything to, you need to train them. Of course, you start from what they already know. But if you need you to speak the language they understand, you have to. If not, our data does not have, the data you will come up with will not be the right one. And when there is data bias, that means data integrity is questioned. The guy that showed you the dashboard already has they have an expectation. Even if you do what the research or whatever you are doing and you don't do it the right way, the data will show it that it was not done properly. If they do it halfway, the data will show it because your dashboard will reflect, because for those that build the platform, there's an expected outcome. And as long as it doesn't fall in line, they would know that something is wrong somewhere. And that's why there's no way you can defend the case. Those guys already know that there's no data integrity. So I just want to put it out there. Of course, this is now a crisis. You must be able to put on your crisis management skills now. This speaks to leadership and, of course, incident reporting. You might need to report it even to someone higher up. I am a very blunt person, especially when it comes to data. There are times you need to hire and fire some people to send a message. So as much as we're trying not to micromanage people, clear expectation must be set. Regular check-in, regular audit, so that we can maintain our data integrity. Thank you. I will not waste your time.
Thank you very much, madam. Thank you I know my partner is already filming right now. He's like, he likes that term, hire and fire. He's been saying somebody must be responsible, head must roll. There will be consequences and all of that. So for me, as much as that is also important, I feel right now I need a job to deliver within the specific time, which has even elapsed already. So my point is, what I'm thinking in my head as of this afternoon when we're having a meeting is that, yes, we will fire when we have to fire. But right now, can we at least do what is right? When we get this thing
done, then you're supposed to, at the point of your retrospective, you can actually deal with that.
We'll now come with our sledgehammer. I understand. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, madam. Yes.
Okay, great.
But the points are very valid. All the points, Yes, so we've not really been. I agree with you. We've not paid attention to data governance. Like I said, we've not been approaching. I am just somebody who's just doing this work without any guidance. This is perhaps the first major guidance I'm having. It's just like a man thrown into an ocean and is trying to swim his way out. That's the way it has been. So it is now that I'm having a methodical approach to some of these things.
Excellent.
Yes, of course. We had a meeting. We had the training last month in Gombe State, where I told them that, look, if you made a mistake, if you impute any wrong data, I told them bluntly that you can't lie to technology. That if you impute the wrong data, we will know. And once we know, we'll deal with you. So maybe they didn't listen to me and all of that. So it boils down to one thing, that data management training, where we focus on data integrity and all of that, is very crucial going forward for us to, in fact, it's the next line of training that I'm going to propose right now, so that this kind of thing will not repeat itself again. Thank you very much for this. This is very valuable. Thank you.
Excellent. I'm so glad you found it valuable. So let's progress. Thank you so much for that addition. It's always good to have data people around. Okay. Because of our time, right? We're already 40 minutes away from the end of this class. Let's see where we can go. We're not in a rush, really. So the most important thing is understanding. This is an adult form of learning, and the goal is for you to grab as much as possible that has practical application. And I'm happy that we are getting that even beyond the Agile training. So I love the fact that you're reading all these lines and you see Scrum team has the courage Scrum team members the courage to do the right thing and to work on tough problems. And when issues come, you must have the courage to quickly inform all your stakeholders. Like she said the other time, crisis management requires that you may quickly also need to communicate with leadership. Immediately yesterday, once I summoned every group together, I sent an email. I copied I now had to send a personal email to all my leadership to let them know the trouble that is happening. And I'm careful in the words I use. I said, I just got a not so good news. People say be careful of using the word bad or something, but it's better to use not so good instead of using bad news. Oh, adult class. Okay. Yeah, this is an adult class, right? So, Scrum. So you must have the courage to quickly inform the leadership, and then in your information, tell them the things you have started doing to solve the problem. So don't just inform them of the issues, inform them of your mitigation strategy. And anytime you emphasize a risk, always talk about the risk and then what you're doing to mitigate the risk. And that's one of the things that will help you to be a professional. So in terms of Scrum, we've been able to talk about the Scrum values. We've talked about empiricism and lean thinking. We've talked about the lean thinking principles and then the pillars of empiricism. Now the Scrum team. When we talk about the Scrum team, I think we've reiterated this over and over. The most important thing is it consists of one Scrum Master, one product owner, and developers. I'm sure that's no longer in news, right? Usually, mathematically, they will say between 5 to 9 members. There are many variants, but 5 to 9 seems to be the common average. One Scrum Master, one product owner, and then the developers. Average of 5 to 9. Within a Scrum team, there are no sub-teams or hierarchies. It's a cohesive unit of professionals focused on one objective at a time, the product goal. The Scrum team are, please don't forget to use this word always, cross-functional. That means sometimes as a Scrum Master, even if I know the work of business analysis or a product owner, I can do it. Like sometimes I create user stories, which normally I shouldn't do, but I just create it and move on. Create it, get the team members to groom it and everything. So it's cross-functional. I can do your job if I can do it technically well. We interact with each other very well. Meaning the members have the skills necessary to create value in each sprint, and each one also has his own area of specialization. And then we are self-managing. Self-managing means that we internally decide who does what, when, and how. So we all agree to support each other, to help each other to work. So the Scrum team is small enough to remain nimble, that is to remain swift, agile, and large enough to complete significant work, where I said typically 10 or fewer people, but I said 5 to 9, right? Yeah, but you already get the idea, 10 or fewer people, but the idea is 5 to 9. In general, we found the smaller teams communicate better and more productive. So if they ask you, why do we say 5 to 9? They say smaller teams communicate better and they are more productive. Once the team becomes bigger, there'll be a lot of distraction. Then the 15-minute daily Scrum will not work again, because by the time more than 10 people wants to give feedback, 15 minutes is gone. So what you do in a case where what you want to develop is big is that you can split the Scrum team into 2 and then give each one different squads. And then maybe give one the UI part, give the other one the back-end part to deliver. So if Scrum team become too large, they should consider reorganizing into multiple cohesive Scrum teams, just what I said, and focus on the same product, but they will focus on different parts of the product. So each squad will take different parts. So for currently, I'm handling a member portal side. I have another Scrum Master handling the provider portal side. I have different other people manning different areas. So there should be product goal, product backlog, and a product owner. Of course, a product owner is crucial. The Scrum team is responsible for all product-related activities, from stakeholder collaboration to verification to maintenance, operation, experimentation, and all those things. We can read all those details. The entire Scrum team is accountable for creating value, useful increments every sprint, valuable and useful increments every sprint. And there are 3 specific accountabilities within the Scrum team: the developers, the product owner, and the Scrum Master. So let's talk about the developers now. For the developers, we know they are the ones who actually make the work happen. And the developers, commonly, what happens within them is that maybe I should elaborate a little bit on their role. You have the main guys who actually are engaged in development work. You have the guys who are engaged in QA, that's quality assurance. They quality test what the development team has done. So these development guys do what we call the unit testing and then integration testing. Meaning unit testing is once they are writing each layer of code, they are testing it. Integration testing means they merge all the layers together and integrally and then test the code. At QA level, what they will now do is they will test this code that has been tested integrally with other application codes that are existing. So they will do that. Then they can also do functional testing, or what we call the performance testing. So that's the essence of a QA team, and they are very, very needed. Please don't underestimate the importance of these guys. After QA is done, you're expected to do a user acceptance testing. That's where you get your product owner, and if you have customer or client, and then they will come and test the interface. It will be in a meeting. It is called sprint demo. So in that meeting, you would demonstrate everything that is happening. You will give them access, you give them username, password. They will log on their own computer, not on your own computer or your own phone or their own phone, and they will test it. Once you allow them test it and they give you a sign off, the next thing is that you should deploy from UAT. But there's also one extra that I noticed that have been put now. It's called staging or performance environment. What we do in this performance environment is that in my organization, what they go to do now is they can go and load 3 million data from one database that is existing. They will now put pressure on that application with over 3 million data. Here, they will test the speed, how he is able to cope when multiple because imagine a bank like GT Bank. Do you know how many people does transfer per second?
A second, yeah.
So if you don't go and do performance testing and you go and push an application into the public, it may not be able to withstand pressure to just break. And this is always a major point, please, in any deployment you want to do. Always ask for a performance testing. That can we have mock-up data of about 1 million or 10,000, 100,000 data? Let us use it to pressurize the system to test if it's going to be able to deliver. So there's always a team called the performance testing team. They mock up a larger chunk of data and then they use it to test. If you can now survive 3 million data, then we hopefully believe you should be able to survive more. So then we now go to full deployment. Now, don't forget that the point of full deployment is not only you that will deploy on the same day. Other people too will have the applications that they want to come and deploy. So you must not allow your own deployment to break another person's deployment. So all those things are what will be managed by the deployment team. And that's why there's a team you will all submit a request for change to. They will now test all those things again and be sure that your own deployment is not going to put other people's deployment in jeopardy. And then you deploy into production. Once you now deploy into production, you now manage post-production issues. So all the folks that work along here, including the database guys, DBA, database administrator, manager, lead data engineer, and all those things, that's the essence of getting data, because they will need data to test from, I think, from QA to UAT to this point. They will need data for these three. So you need your data guys. So all these people will be termed as developers up until you deploy. Do you now understand? You may call them development team, but they're actually several people with different roles. But we just call them the development team. So the most important thing is that we have to create a plan for the sprint backlog, ensure we instill quality by adhering to the definition of done. So before we start any deployment, in our user story, we have something called the definition of done. What do you want to see when this application is done? What I want to see for a GT Bank app is that they want to ensure that the transfer goes through and it goes to the right person. So that's the definition of done. So on the day we come for sprint demo, that is what everybody wants to demo and be sure it happens. So that's our definition. So we always like to write definition of done. So if we write definition of done, we are clear on all the acceptance criteria. that would make us say this thing is done. And so during QA and UAT, they use this definition of done and the acceptance criteria to define that the job is done. So that's the developer, and then you have the product owner. The product owner is accountable for maximizing value of the product resulting from the work of the Scrum team. How this is done may vary widely across organizations, Scrum team, and individual, but the product owner is accountable for effective product backlog management. So I told us that once they give us what the product will be, the product owner is responsible to work with the business analyst team, the subject matter expert. They will break it down into different user stories. So on my current project, we have about 393 user stories that we've broken the whole project down into. And as of maybe yesterday, we're already about 320 completed user stories out of 393. So do you understand how the thing flows now? So the whole product backlog, we have all the user stories. Each sprint that you now go into, you come and take a small chunk of this number of user stories and take it to your sprint backlog. Each sprint, and you go and deliver. If you're not able to finish it here, you move it to the next sprint. It's as simple as that. So the product owner is accountable for effective backlog management, which includes developing and explicitly communicating the product goal, creating and clearly communicating product backlog items, ordering product backlog items, and then ensuring that the product backlog is transparent, visible, and understood. If there's any clear issue from the dev team, they can always call for what we call a grooming meeting. Please, you can note this word down in your notes, grooming. Grooming means you call all stakeholders together. Everybody will now review that story and say, what's the challenge here? Let's define everything, acceptance criteria. How do we get data? So grooming is like a way to agree. Once we say a story is groomed, that means the development team and the product management team has agreed, and they have a complete acceptance criteria on that story, on that user story. Otherwise, if I just create a user story, I will leave it in what we call to do option. And then once I now have a meeting on it, and then we're able to put in all the details, then I mark it as groomed. And that means it's ready to go into development. The next thing is for it to go into development. So the product owner may do the above work or may delegate responsibility to others regardless, but the product owner remains accountable. For product owners to succeed, the entire organization respect their decision. These decisions are made visible and then in what they call the product backlog. So if as a product owner, I want to reject, if you bring a new feature late in development, the only way I can reject anything is objectively. If I'm going to reject, I have to reject objectively. So the way I reject objectively is I show you my product backlog and I show you my priorities. If you now feel something is of bigger priority, then we start talking about it. And so the leadership already knows from the product backlog, what are the things that are achievable and what are the things that are not achievable. The product owner is one person, not a committee in this context. But in most organizations, you have the product management team, because the product owner would most likely have a product manager. The product manager may have a product director. Product director will also have maybe product vice president. So all in big organizations. So, and then of course there'll be president. So with that, even if you are referring that there's a one product owner, the guy also has a reporting line, or the lady has a reporting line in that organization. But in the context of Scrum, it's just one person. I hope that's clear.
Yes, please.
All right, so we have Scrum Master. Scrum Master is accountable for establishing Scrum as defined in this Scrum guide. His own goal is to ensure that everybody aligns to the Scrum principles. He's the one that's also training everybody, reminding everybody what the Scrum principle says. So if you hear someone saying according to the international standard or standard, that's the Scrum Master talking. He will be the one to remind you of the Scrum theory and practice. He will be the one to say, no, we can't do this. This is the only way Scrum permits. And that's to drive team effectiveness. His responsibility is to coach the team and ensure that they self-manage and they are cross-functional. It helps the Scrum team focus on high value increments that meets the definition of done. And just like I said, your job as a Scrum Master is removal of impediments. If there's any challenge by the development team, your job is to go and solve the problem. So you're a problem solver. And that was why when the issue happened yesterday, it's been deleted. There's nothing we can do. I had to summon team together. I had to reach out to my team. And then I had to start helping them get all other leaders into the call so that we can solve the problem. So your job is to solve the problem. Now there's an issue that has been created. Your job as a Scrum Master is to solve the problem. And then you ensure that all the Scrum events take place and are positive, productive, and kept within the required time box. So if you're in a meeting as a Scrum Master, you are the one managing the meeting with the time. If you see that the meeting is getting to the end and people are still not getting what they want, you already start talking about, okay, I know we're closing in on time. I can put up another meeting, a subsequent meeting, so that we can finish up this discussion. You're the one that is managing both the discussion, facilitating, and ensuring that everything works within the timeline. And if everybody is okay with extending the time for the meeting, if they don't have any other meeting or a hard stop, then they can feel free to go ahead. So that's your role as a Scrum Master. Now, the Scrum Master serves the product owner in several ways. You help find the techniques for effective product goal definition. As a Scrum Master, you may be also responsible for explaining Scrum principles to the product owner, then facilitating stakeholder collaboration, ensuring that if there's a complex environment, they are easily able to find their way through. That's the role of a Scrum Master. And then you serve the organization by ensuring there's training and coaching the organization in a Scrum way, planning and advising every Scrum implementation within the organization, helping employees and stakeholders understand the Scrum way. So essentially, you're like the advanced project manager. But it's an advanced form of project management. And don't forget the term I use for them, servant leader. Yes. So you are responsible for solving all the problem of the organization, serving them, using empathy and all those things. You're like the advanced project manager. Any question at this point?
No. This is clear, sir. This is
okay, clear. Great. Excellent. So the next thing is the Scrum event. Now, looking at this, the Scrum event is a container for all other events. So the event in Scrum, if, like they say, all Scrum event, the whole methodology itself is an event, but it now has sub-events inside it. I'm sure you get that. Yes. The main Scrum methodology is an event. It's considered a holistic event. So each event in Scrum is a formal point to inspect and adapt Scrum artifacts. These events are specifically designed to enable transparency, the transparency required. Failure to operate any event as prescribed results in lost opportunity to inspect and to adapt. Events are used in Scrum to create regularity and to minimize the need for meetings, not defined in Scrum. Optimally, all events are held at the same time and placed to reduce complexity. That's just the thinking of Jeff Sutherland and Ken Schwaber, that the event has to be held at the time. So we talk about the sprint. That's the first artifact, the first Scrum artifact we're talking about. Sprints are the heartbeat of Scrum, where ideas are turned into value. So they believe that sprint concept, the sprint concept, I remember explaining to you, if we say sprint are usually 1 to 4 weeks, right? Yes. Concept, based on how we now agree, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, maybe 10 days, you just define it the way you want. But usually it's run in weeks. It's to ensure that they are fixed length and of 1 month or less, and they ensure that you drive consistency. A new sprint starts immediately after the conclusion of the previous sprint. All work necessary to achieve from the product goal. Now, in each sprint, there is what we call the sprint planning. I've spoken to this. Daily scrums, that's what we call daily stand-up, DSU. Then you have the sprint review. I've mentioned that as well, where you review what you have developed. And so it could also be called sprint demo, where developers and QA team comes to demo things. And then you have the sprint retrospective. This is where the team analyzes their own flaws and their strength and everything. All these these five things happen in each sprint. Sprint planning, daily scrum, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. So you may hear some organizations say they are scheduling a grooming meeting. I mentioned grooming the other time, right? Where you have a story, maybe midway, or they may say they are scheduling a backlog grooming meeting or backlog review meeting. It is not part of the standard meetings of a sprint. But some people just like it that way. Normally, that should be part of your sprint planning. But for some organizations that run on 2-week sprint or 1-month sprint, in between that 1 month, they may just say we want to recheck our backlog and want to groom the backlog. So they may just go back and check all the stories that are pending. And what they are trying to do is they are trying to rearrange the priority of the stories. Maybe there are some new things that come in and they think this one should come on top. And these ones that are on top before, they are no longer a priority. Push them below. So all those things would be clear.
So let me understand this. When you have created your sprint backlog right now, or maybe you've tried to after about 4 weeks, you've done your review and all of that. At what point does grooming meeting comes in? That's number one. Two, is it that at that point new information just came in that we now feel let us put into this backlog, or what exactly necessitates a grooming meeting in the real sense of it? Because I believe you've done your sprint planning, you've done all the things that you're supposed to do, you've broken all of these things down, you've done some walks around these places, and then and even done you've done your daily sprints, you've done your retrospective, you've done your sprint review. I mean, you've done all of this, and then you now say, okay, let's do grooming, and then is it that at that point we're coming in with a new information or a new knowledge? Why is it that we're doing that in the real sense?
Excellent question. Thank you so much for asking it. So these are the reasons that can happen why you need to do a grooming. Remember, I said you have what we call the product backlog. This is where you have like 300 user stories that will totally deliver the solution. Now, the sprint planning is you pick out of these 300, maybe you pick 7 stories and you take it into your sprint backlog. So what happens is the day you see Jira, it will become clearer. What we call backlog in Jira is actually the product backlog. In each of the sprint, you see a box for each of the sprint on top like this. So if I'm currently running this sprint and then I pick maybe 7 stories, I bring them here. Now, these 7 stories, remember when we thought we had groomed the story. That's why we bring it to this sprint. But sometimes, even though we thought we had groomed it, when we still get to the point where we want to start developing, the developer will just tell you, what we thought we understood before, or the tech stack we thought we were able to use before, we can't use it again, no? Because it has a limitation. The limitation is that it can only resolve 10,000 people. And you already know that your platform has 30,000 people. So because of that, we need to do something else so that we now be able to bring a new tech stack that can undo 100,000 people.
So, sir, you are saying that when we create the product backlog, and then user stories, we're supposed to groom at that point.
Excellent. One of the first job you will be doing is to groom these stories.
Okay.
So you set up several grooming session stories where you'll be grooming. You just 1 hour. a day. You'll be grooming all the stories one after the other based on priority. Especially
The groom means to review, right? Or to test.
review. You are reviewing the stories to ensure that all the acceptance criteria that the business wants to be able to deliver comes into being.
Okay.
So you define the full details in the story so that when the developer is reading it, they know exactly what they want to do. Sometimes if you have a template from another application, you can snipe that template and come and save it under that story.
So, sir, that tells me, sir, I'm sorry to
No,
bother
please feel free. Feel
you.
free. Yeah.
That tells me, sir, that, you know, the first thing I have to do, even before I come to the user story, is to review my product acceptance criteria. So then I have that somewhere. Then by the time I come up with the user stories, I try to fit them into the product acceptance criteria. And so that is what is called grooming. So I need to, if I'm trying to see, I don't know if I'm correct right now.
I will reverse it. I will rephrase your sentence. So in rephrasing your sentence, you already created the user story. Now opening this user story and now listing out all the things that are required to fulfill the essence of this user story is what is called grooming.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
So, but sometimes you think you're done grooming and you have moved the story so that the developer can start working on it in this sprint. But when they get here, they still discover that there are some new realities they didn't that plan.
New requirements.
Exactly. Or new requirement comes and you have to, that will alter this. So those are the things that require regrooming or something at this point. And you have to summon all teams together to talk about the story again.
Absolutely. This is clear. Thank you so much.
Great. You're welcome, sir. So you have the sprint, and in that sprint, you already know it's 1 to 4 weeks, but in most cases, it's the leadership that already decides, are we using a 2-week sprint, a 3-week sprint, or a 4-week sprint? And once all those discussion goes on and everyone is good with it, you decide how many weeks you want to use. So that means what you have is then, okay, let me clean this. What you now have is, sorry, just a moment. So what you now have is, you start your sprint with a sprint planning. In your sprint planning, your goal is to go into the product backlog and bring some stories into the sprint backlog. From the product backlog, you bring your stories, some stories. This is where you have like the 300 stories. You bring 7 here for this sprint, which will be a 2-week sprint. 2-week sprint means we're starting on a Wednesday and we're ending on a Tuesday. But in between, you'd have passed a certain Wednesday because it's 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what will now happen is every day we'll be meeting. That's the daily stand-up. It can be in the morning, it can be in the afternoon, it can be at night, but we'll be meeting for 15 minutes based on what we want to, and then we'll discuss. But let me not deceive you. In reality, most of my daily stand-up meeting has been 30 minutes, in most common, but I have one that is one hour. Because I have 5 tracks in it that I'm actually tracking. So because of that, depending, you just manage it. You would too, we understand as you're evolving, right? So then daily stand-ups every day until the last day. Now, the sprint review is always commonly at the end, either the second to the last day or on the last day. You as the Scrum Master would invite business, product owner, and everybody to come and check what you have built for this sprint. You will demo it to everybody. They will ask you questions. They will do different testing. And if they are satisfied, they will mention. If they are not, then that means there are issues. If they are not, then all the issues that are listed, you as the Scrum Master will list them out and will send them back to the developer for them to resolve. So that means every day you're checking, you're doing your daily stand-up, you'll be reviewing these issues too. Because now there are pending issues, right? That needs to be resolved. And then you put the issue, you put the person point of contact who will take care of the issue. Then you put a tentative ETA, estimated time to completion, or that this thing will be achieved. you put it. So that's why you create an Excel document immediately with a serial number, maybe your department, serial number, the issue listed, the person of contact, the ETA. Sometimes for purpose of communication, you may want to put the name of the person who raised the issue from the business. Maybe it's from one legal department that they've raised the issue. Maybe it's government contracting. Maybe it's different department. You just list them out. Are we clear?
Yes.
Now,
yes.
So that's sprint review. And then the last day is sprint retrospective. So I think we'll stop here and then we'll continue from here from next week. So this sprint retrospective is now where the team, this one is a demo. Everybody in the organization that can join will join. But this one is just within the Scrum team. That's the retrospective. And 3 things you ask yourself. What did we do well this time? What are the things we didn't do well? And how do we improve? And that's a retrospective.
So the daily stand-ups.
Okay.
These daily stand-ups. Okay. Is it done before we before we start the work of the day, or or after we've done the work? For example, we have a 4 weeks that have been broken. We have a 2 weeks that is broken to daily. I'm going to use the word milestone right now in this regard. Now, within that, okay, maybe there are some codes that we need to write today to have this feature attached to these products and all of that. I would say the daily stand-ups right now, does it happen before that code is written and that process is completed, or it happens after that process has been completed?
Great question. But one thing I want you to know is that any time of the day we put it does not matter. What matters is it has to be 24 hours later. Because either you put it at 7 a.m. every morning, we'll all be meeting 7 a.m. So that means the work I need to do, I will go and complete between 7 a.m. and maybe whatever time I'm closing here. And if I decide to put it at closing time every day, the meaning is just that what did you achieve today? What are you planning to achieve tomorrow before we meet? That's the most important thing. So it can be in any time of the day. But when I first started Scrum, I used to think it should always be in the morning too. But later, from practice, I discover even if it's 11 a.m. every day, the gist is just what did you promise from yesterday, 11 a.m. that you will achieve by today? What were you able to achieve? Okay, what are you planning to achieve for tomorrow? Period. And when you come tomorrow, this thing you said you will achieve for tomorrow is what we'll ask you question about.
That's excellent.
And then I'll ask you, do you have any impediment or any blocker that is preventing you from moving forward? And then you tell me all your problems, and then we continue. My job as a Scrum Master is to now help you solve the problem. We'll work with you to solve the problem.
Absolutely. That's understandable. Thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome, sir. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining today. Any other question, please?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shola.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, FK. All right. In the absence of any other question, wish you excellent weekend. Enjoy your evening.